Kabam. Hello, everyone.
You did it.
And here we are.
Yeah. Hello, world. It is us. We have returned.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Uh,
By the way, I just wanted to comment. Sam is the Twitter voice of Lost Worlds Archive. I've deeply appreciated the call outs, the lore call outs as excuses for why we're not online. Brilliant.
Oops, all that information and behind the scenes work it's there for the enjoyment of people should they wish.
Yes.
it's true. It's all true. Sam, who are you? Why are you here? What's happening? Where are we? What are we doing?
Because he had no say in it. No say in it. I'm Sam. Hi. I'm a voice actor and a performer based in Australia. You can find me on Twitter at _real Sammy P. And sometimes behind the cover of our Lost World Archive stuff. But it's not always me, so you can't be sure.
No.
No, there is now a couple of there is now more than just one video on our TikTok.
Yes. I was
There's
giggling
like
at all of them today.
There's like 5.
Oh my goodness.
And you know what? Some of them are less than 4 minutes long.
Can TikToks be longer than 4 minutes?
TikToks will be 10 minutes now.
Who allowed this?
TikTok.
Now the catch is you have to upload to get to 10 minutes. You cannot just ad hoc a 10-minute piece. So, but yeah.
But if you're up, which I've obviously I've only uploaded, but they're like, hey, this can be like 10 minutes long. I'm like, who's watching a 10-minute long TikTok? Who's doing this? Who?
It's not
me. I was just gonna say, yeah.
It's not me.
And certain things you can't, like all the little fancy like stitching and duetting and all that, you can't do if the video is more than a minute.
Yeah.
Right. That also makes sense to me.
The author TikTok stuff wobbles around the 3-minute mark. The Aquaponics TikTok stuff wobbles around the 5-minute mark, but I haven't seen anything that's 10 minutes. No.
and to be fair, like I definitely, I feel like there's, as you say, there's probably some more. There's some certain groups that will definitely do that, but at the same time, for our stuff, like given that I'm just sort of hurling these into the void, I'm doing. You
just described the entire game.
But like the first one that put out was like it was like a 5-minute one, a 4-minute one, and it was like that was fine. And then like the first one that was like a minute and a half was like 100 more views in less time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, mate, that tracks. I need to be I need to be less indulgent with these, I guess.
A minute, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3 at the outside. I go to TikTok for fast.
Yeah.
Also, I have ADHD.
I was just gonna say, it's the ultimate expression of the MTV/ADHD thing, right?
Well,
MTV thing.
305.
Oh.
Yeah. But sometimes I just enjoy the conversation, and I'm like, but I want. This whole conversation is the highlight. What are you talking about?
No.
Yes.
No.
Well, the trick is I go and show one of my parents, and they're just like, "Hey, you have no context for this. How does this feel?" And they're just like, "I don't know what's going on." I'm like, "Good, we're cutting this down." Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yes. Jamie.
It's me.
It is you. Tell us about you.
I'm Jamie Collette. I'm a voice actor and director. You can find me on my website, www.jamie-collette.com, or on Twitter @Muffin Manifesto, or right here.
Right here?
I am indeed right here, right now.
Michelle? Oh, no, wait.
No,
you
that's
done? I jumped in.
It's your turn. Yes, absolutely. So tell us about yourself, Chantal.
Me?
Yeah.
I am currently unmedicated, but also I have coffee and I will have gin.
ADHD
So if you
life
see-
right there. I'm unmedicated, but I've got coffee and alcohol.
I will shortly be medicated, but I will also have coffee and gin, and I have water. But not only that, I have juice and I have Gatorade. So, like, if you see me pick up a beverage that you didn't see me pick up before, that's
Get
just
that
because
beverage.
I felt like that particular one at that particular time. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I just felt like it then. One of them might be colder than the other. One of them might be nicer than the other. I just like variety. And going between hot, cold, and alcoholic beverages seems to be it today.
Puck's just off camera with like a massive like container of different drinks, so that at no point do you have the same drink twice. And just like,
Puck is my bartender.
yeah, it's just mixing drinks.
Boof. Thanks. Yeah. Beyond that, I am a cryptid of many things. I'm on Twitter at whatever the handle there is because it's great. And I also am running Daybreak Prep, which is on Saturday US time, 8 o'clock Eastern, when it's at 8 o'clock Eastern. And we've recently realized that the entire game that we've been playing for the last 3 now seasons is also a TV show called First Kill. So if you, and you know what? It's a TV show called First Kill that came after we started. So and it's an AU, it's entirely AU, but like.
So I just realized I probably should have mentioned I was also on that as a guest again.
Yes,
I came
yes,
back. They keep bringing me back. I don't know why. But
I
you were all
mean-
talking about it beforehand, and I was like, I've seen the stuff on Twitter, but the more you talk about it, I was like, I mean, I get the similarities, and then they're like, no, but this and this, and there's also this. I'm like, oh no,
It's a mess.
Oh,
It's as
no.
messy as we are. It's a real mess. It's fantastic, and it's also very gay. So like, if you like gay, watch
like-
Daybreak Prep.
If you want gay and messy, watch Daybreak Prep. If you watch all of Daybreak Prep, maybe watch First Kill.
Yeah, maybe watch an episode of First Kill and then return to Daybreak Prep afterwards.
Yeah.
Because we were the
where
OG.
we do it first, where they do it first and better. Yes, absolutely.
But the thing is, though,
Mm.
even the character names. There's an Oliver, there's a Margot, there's a
Daddy was telling me, oh my gosh, I was just I was seeing clips getting posted by various people. It's like, this is getting really close to plagiarism, kids.
That's the thing. I don't know if I should be like sending them a letter or they should be sending me one. And in their letter, if they could have a check.
Which one of you watched our show?
Which one of you?
Which one of you?
Which one of you stole from me? So yeah, that's me, Michelle.
Very wonderful. Yeah, Michel Vaillancourt, author, gamer, recently have made the at my roommate's behest have made the bold leap onto TikTok, and I'm still trying to figure out and immediately obliterated my first 11 posts because I didn't know what the difference between a story and a video was. So yeah, but that's okay. I've learned. I spoke
TikTok
French
is-
very fluently for a few moments, and then went and watched some YouTube videos.
You know, TikTok is great because TikTok, I've reached the point now where when I get new clients, if they say, "Oh yeah, I like, what do you enjoy doing?" "Oh, I like to like, at night I'll probably just scroll through and watch a load of TikTok videos." And I'm like, "Okay, I need you to tell me what area of TikTok do you get sent to?" Because the algorithm is incredibly on point after a certain amount of time. And the number of people that have come to me and been like, "Oh yeah, so I end up at like ADHD talk," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. Here's the thing. I need you to book an appointment with a psychiatrist because it will take time. There's always
Yeah.
a long wait time. I'm going to ask you to book it now and we'll keep talking because
That's funny.
it's
as hell.
very on point.
So yes, I'm two writing projects on the go currently. Working on an Open Legends supplement titled Dark Sky, Dark Future, which is an open legend take on cyberpunk, small c cyberpunk. And I've decided I'm going to indulge myself in writing a roughly 90s setting vampire buddy cop story. The protagonist is a slightly grumpy, well put upon East End Montreal guy from the late 1990s who used to be a member of a biker gang and is now a vampire and is essentially a sandbagger, if you will. And the other part of the buddy cop pair is a nun. She is part of the Vatican Tactical Response Squad for dealing with the paranormal.
Amazing.
And it's set in the late 90s.
As everything good should be. I've given up now trying to like not act my age.
It's like me. I'm set in the late 90s.
Yeah, exactly. I'm set in the late 90s myself. Thanks.
Well, part of the reason I wanted to go with that setting is, amongst other things, that was the height of the grunge movement. And that was really the first solid go at what I call the pop goth movement. Right. And so it's this really interesting confluence of a lot of energies and aesthetics, which most people now sort of, I mean, that's the entire Lost Boys and movies that were inspired by it all sort of stem out of this wellhead. And so it's just such a fascinating aesthetic that I want to lean into that. It also simplifies a whole bunch of technological problems because cell phones are still new. Information is the enemy of plots of storytelling, right? If there's no reason the protagonist should not know, it starts looking really odd if they just don't know. Everyone's got a cell phone. Everyone can Google everything. Everyone can take a picture and find out exactly who you are. Blah blah blah. Right?
Everyone has a sex dungeon library. It's got to be said.
Yeah, and so take a pic. And so it starts getting really hard to justify some of the, to me, more fun tropes about pop culture vampires. And yeah, so setting it in the 90s, literally to slow down the speed of information and to jam with the aesthetic.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's me in current projects, and of course, there's all you lovely folks that I get to hang out with when stars align properly, and my 50-something frame here is no longer attempting to kill me. Yeah.
Do you think we could call the current era just the really, really, really late 90s?
No.
No.
And the reason for that is this is not a good timeline, and I don't want this to be associated with the 90s.
You have to earn that. You don't
Yeah.
just
You don't just get given a 90s. No.
Yep. All right. I think the reasoning is sound.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Should we
So,
go
yeah.
to an intro and play?
Yes, let's do an intro and let's roll some dice and play some games.
Play games. We have returned. Yay.
All right, then. So, it's been a minute, as the phrase goes. So, could we? Who would like to volunteer their in-character perspective about recent events, specifically the events of last session?
No. No, because I've just realized none of them are good for Alexandria. Goodbye.
What?
I will remind you that I am ex-Navy, which means if I do not have volunteers, then I will resort to voluntold.
No, look, I'll give it a whirl.
Okay.
Well, we, gosh, oh, trying to briefly think, like, just time wise. It's like in the last like 24 hours, I was like, it's been less than that. It's not even. I don't even know if it's been 12 hours yet. Really,
It's just been the morning.
Last session.
Oh, that's what.
It was just the morning. It's not even. We're not even past brunch.
Even morning.
That's why I made that mistake. That's why.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yes.
Yeah.
The last last session, all total, the visit to the temple, which spanned over one session and a bit, was about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was basically the event started at dawn, and you arrived shortly thereafter.
Yep.
Which is like, the bit about which is why Helena said, "I'll see you at breakfast."
Yeah.
You know, it
so,
does explain.
So. That's how I got that legend point. I remember now. Wasn't technically my source flaw, but really it was mine. But well, last night Spider and I went to visit, well, his father, Cedric Edgewater, who's not a good person. And I certainly had some thoughts about what we could do that I'm not proud of. But it went well, I guess, as well as you could hope. I was very impressed by Spider and his ability to not only maintain composure, but essentially get one over his dad. Promised him something that don't really intend to deliver and don't even need to deliver for a while. And in doing so, got the thing we needed to be able to leave. Got the curfew lifted and the martial law lifted, and now we could actually leave the city. It was very impressive. And then in the early hours of the morning, all three of us went to the temple dedicated to the fiend of slaughter and saw the end of we saw a person getting destroyed in every sense of the word, from body to soul. Alexandre saw more than most. Again, very impressed with my companions and how they handled themselves. And on the way back, knowing that we would be leaving soon, I checked with Alexandre's grandmother, because I knew she had her own something she was doing, but that she wanted to meet with Alexandre. And I think on the whole, I think that's a good idea. I think that will be useful for both of them to have that conversation. I just don't think it's going to be fun for anyone. And I was told that she was going to see us for breakfast, which I had already had. So in my head, I was thinking that meant tomorrow. And I was like, well, we got time, and we can have a discussion about what we're going to do and make sure that Alexandra is prepared. And then we got back. Oh, after picking some stuff up, we got back and she was there. She meant today, because it's now the normal breakfast time, not the when we had breakfast time. So, okay. This is going to go. Well, doesn't seem like the right word, but I'm sure it will be fine in the end. Hopefully.
Would either Spider or Alexandria like to contribute to the narrative, or shall we press on with breakfast?
I think that's like pretty much as Spider remembers it. Meta theatrically, meta gamingly, it was cool to see Spider lose the vengeful floor. I have officially picked up the ambitious floor instead, which I think makes sense of
Wonderful, good choice.
everything he's done in the last couple of episodes.
Yep.
And most importantly, as we walked in the door to make our final preparations before leaving, and Alexandri saw her grandmère waiting for breakfast, Spider excused himself very rapidly, because
I
he has
remember.
his important business. Got to go and tell the lads that are not coming with us that they should stay away from the temple district and probably go into hiding if the city starts burning to the ground. Which could happen.
Because that could happen.
It's within
Of
the realm of
expletives.
within the realm of Spider's expectation that as soon as they walk out of the city, it is going to explode.
They're gonna make it that far?
I'm ready to go.
It depends how breakfast goes, really.
I'm imagining it being very cartoon. Like you just see like this caravan heading out, and then there's something become backlit by this just column of fire, and then you just see this blackened city that then just crumbles to dust, and we're all just like, oh.
At least it wasn't the dragon, right? It wasn't the dragon.
Yeah, it might as well just like
That was the
"Whoa,
problem.
wasn't us.
Don't blame me.
Everyone's just like, did we do that?
Not directly.
All right then. So the staggering clock in is, as always, on a mid-morning.
We didn't get
a
our
busy
sunrise.
place.
Ah,
Don't man.
yeah. I saw the hope.
Take away my hope. I need that hope. It's worth my hope. It's all very simple. I refuse to drink a soul sparkling. And then I came back to the inn to leave. And my grandma is sitting at the table with my food that I like. And Spider deserted me.
It's very aggressive languaging. I mean, very accurate, but nonetheless.
I mean, do you prefer abandoned? Fucked off? Which do you prefer? I can go with any of those.
I left you to your own devices. I gave you some privacy.
I hope the plant is not in wait.
Me too.
Good luck. I also know that the food is not poisoned. I asked.
Don't check with reality.
I did have to check, and I did check, and it is not. So I could eat it. It is edible for me at this point.
Yes, as I commented, the twins would be offended that you would even have to check. I mean, some things just don't happen in their establishment, but then, of course, yeah.
I mean,
Didn't ask
the
them.
the Wandering Rose herself is probably one of those people who isn't too concerned about everyone else's version of reality.
exactly.
She will reject your reality. She will substitute it with her own.
And you won't like it.
Well, I mean, the last time the last time she had a few moments of play, Spider wound up with the whole street gang.
Crap, I grabbed the wrong book. Hang on a second.
Sure.
Which one am I after?
Here we go. I has envies.
I have returned.
Yay! I that is something I absolutely must do, is get a decent Bluetooth transmitter for this machine so I can use the earbuds, because I just envy not being able to move around with not garroting yourself.
I garroted myself a number of times before I realized, hey, I'm not going to change my behavior. I have to change this.
Well, that's exactly it, right? And I had the misfortune of having a live stream on the go a few weeks ago, and someone opened the door, and my one of the cats is Dooley. He is the overly large, slightly slow hippie of the group, and this is the first time he decided he would experiment with parkour, which is to say he went off of about a 3-foot meter up elevation, managed about a meter of lateral, and landed straight on the cord that goes between me and my mixing board. Neither the headset nor the mixing board have ever been the same since.
Oh, so please. Yeah. That would do it.
So,
yeah. I'm just going to point out, I open my notebook and then the note says, Grandmum is here. Shit.
Just go ahead.
That's all I wrote.
The funny part was I was mentally thinking about doing one of those openings, and stay tuned after you've heard Alexandre say, it's Grandmum merde. So yes, so as I was saying, the staggering clock is a busy place most mid-mornings. This mid-morning is not unlike the others. There's a lot of bustle. There's a minstrel off in a corner playing some bright music. There's all kinds of various folk in their comings and goings, having something to eat or something to drink. The smells of the Orc Mongol grill fill the place. Gale and Rain are not seen, but that's not uncommon. They're rarely up at this hour of the day. They're absolutely night gnomes. Place is super busy. You folks, of course, habitually have got the VIP table in the back. You are, patrons of remark and note. So you get the VIP table. Basically, it's pretty much become your permanent spot here. And sitting there, as I said, was the Wandering Rose herself, Elena Donadieu, and dressed in traveling clothes. And sitting before her was a healthy breakfast, which belies her supposed age. And directly opposite her was a heap of food on a table of whatever it is that Alexandre would consider 11-year-old, I just stubbed my toe and I want my nana comfort food. So what is that?
Crap.
Crap. Absolutely. So
and
it's a pile of
huge bowl of hot chocolate.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So
do orcs make good crap? Like,
I guess the best way of explaining it is
into a Mongolian barbecue and being like, I want this, and they'd be like, yeah, all right, hang on.
Unless Elena just made it herself.
I was just going to say, I think the best way of explaining it is that none of the cooks were going to admit they had no idea what she was going on about. So they checked they asked her a couple of questions about technique, and then Orcish Mongolian crepe is what you have. Crepe are not traditionally cooked in bacon fat, but they didn't have any butter. So
None of them knew
Savory.
before. All of them know now.
Savory crepe it is, I guess.
And chocolate is not something they keep, but it's amazing how fast a kid will run if you pass them a small bag of coins and say, Gail and Rain will be upset with you if this isn't back full of chocolate in 12 minutes.
Yeah, I'd do it.
So, yeah, the at least one of the cooks has gotten a crash course in Confederate aristocratic breakfast cooking this morning, and is not sure he wanted the lesson or they wanted the lesson, but they've had it and customer seems happy. All's good.
I think as standing in the entrance and Spider dips, there's like a, I guess, kind of like a pain sigh from my soul. And he's, I'm really sorry, Alexandre. I knew she was coming, but I thought she meant tomorrow. And I thought we were going to have time. Well, I was going to bring it up when we got back.
You were going to bring it up.
Because I thought it was tomorrow and we would have time to discuss it and prepare. And she apparently meant today. So, okay. That's on me. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do this on your own, or would you like someone there?
You know, myself, I don't think it's going to make a difference.
So, yes?
Alexandre just walks toward the table. You make your own choices.
Cool, I'm getting some crepes.
Absolutely pragmatic 12-year-old moment.
12-year-old's like, I'm sorry, did you say they've got a thing of chocolate and crepes now?
Exactly.
You know what's not been in the underworld for the last 20, 30 years?
Yeah, the crepe selection and the chocolate selection down there is pretty poor for most of the locales that you two have been hanging out in.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, correct.
All right. So, as commented, Scramble and Note are charging up and down the table, and being more enthusiastically incoherent than usual.
Alexandre just takes the seat opposite Romera and says, "What are you doing here?"
Your grandmother looks a combination of amused and slightly puzzled. She looks at her plate, having breakfast. Well, brunch, more particularly. Talking to you as well.
Mm-hmm. It's a long way from home to just stop by for brunch.
I agree. Fancy meeting you here.
God, there's two of them.
Were you planning on staying or?
Oh no, I understand. There's a caravan heading out to the heading out into the Central Plains. I haven't been out that way in ages. I thought they might need a caravan guard. You know.
Why are you here?
She's going to switch to French, or the Confederate equivalent of, a slightly more aristocratic, French-like language, functionally for purposes French. One of the things I always taught you, my dear, was that when you make a mistake, when you give a mistruth, your apology should always be louder than the statement. And I'm here to make an apology. I could have sent a letter, but that's not very loud at all. And the reality is, because of the mess I've gotten myself into, the easiest way to get around the problem I have is to be here in person, because that way I'm reacting instead of thinking. Because every time I think, I either wind up with a nosebleed or a migraine. If you'll forgive me, of course. I'm not going to force myself on you and your friends. But I'd like a chance to make it right. Or as right as I can, as close to right as I can get.
You lied to me.
Your courtesy is lacking, young lady, she says in a very mock imperious voice. You very well know there's a difference between lying and prevarication. Or act in omission and all that bullshit, she says. Yes, functionally I did. I wanted you to have a childhood.
Well,
there is no joy in telling a 5-year-old that her entire life is going to get stolen from her at some arbitrary point in the future, and watching her live in terror or waiting for that moment to happen. I made that mistake with my daughter. I refuse to make it with you.
I'm on you.
I guess a better way of putting it is I had no reason to believe that she wouldn't be put into my position as she grew older as I did. I wasn't much. I was in my early 20s when I first heard the Chanson. That's why I formed the Envilheart Company, and we went where we went, against all of the odds, against all of the rationality. I had to go. So I had no reason to believe that my daughter wouldn't eventually be in that position. And I thought the smartest thing I could do would be to prepare her from the absolute beginning. And she would wake up at night terrified of being not enough, of making the wrong choice. And so, as mothers are wont to do, I overreacted. And I decided I would tell you nothing. And I forbade your mother to breathe a word about it to you. Your mother, for whatever reason, never heard the song. She grew up her entire life to her mid-20s, desperately terrified of a moment that never came. Meeting your father was probably the kindest thing that this world has done for her.
And so did you know, or did you assume?
She's going to take a sip of the inky black substance, which most people would consider tar, and she refers to as coffee. She's one of these people who takes a cup of coffee and then sits it on a heater to boil off half the water just to make sure it's down to the right concentration.
I mean, just get a double shot. Jeez.
Well, that's what she starts with, and then she boils off the excess water.
Oh, I see. She also has ADHD.
So there's going to be a long moment. She's not avoiding your question. She's desperately trying to come up with an answer that's coherent. It is, for someone who's spent an awful lot of time learning the ruthless art of courtesy and all that goes into it, your grandmother is doing absolutely nothing she has taught you about defenses, about posture, all of the things that isolate you from everyone else and keep your image pristine. She is an open book to you. She is not at all attempting to defend herself, for lack of a better way of putting it. I think it's probably the first time you've ever seen this from your grandmother. Perhaps there would have been an unguarded moment earlier on when she thought you weren't there, and she was with one of the the last survivors of the Anvil Heart Company, and they were all playing cards or something on a silly o'clock evening, and you were up when you shouldn't have been, and those moments are just so absolutely infrequent. Your grandmother's poise and deflector shields, if you will, are functionally legendary amongst the social circles that you traveled in. So this is a new picture. Prophecies are slippery things, she says, looking into her cup after having had a sip. You always wonder if they come true because you make them, or they come true because you never had a choice. I'm a huge believer in free will, because everything else feels like entrapment. And so I wasn't going to force anything to happen. And so, did I know? No. Did I worry? Yes. It had to be you or your daughter. There's just not enough time left. But if it wasn't you, I didn't want to ruin it for you either.
I see. You can't talk about that contract you made.
Not without requiring a first aid kit, no. Oh. I'm just going to pause for a moment, kind of close your eyes for a second. The short version is I'm not allowed to interfere.
But you are here.
I'm not interfering. I'm just here for breakfast and being a caravan guard now, aren't I? Let's just say I've gotten very, very, very good at gaming some systems, and I'll put up with a certain level of discomfort if I have to. I owe you that.
Right. So, you're just here to apologize by doing what you can to rectify a situation that we can't discuss.
She's going to smile. It's a sad smile, but there's a humor to it nonetheless. No one ever said life was easy.
I'm 18 years old with a song giving me directions. I feel like it should be easier than that a little bit, you know?
She's going to dab at her nose slightly. Kind of look at the end of her thumb, nod. There's something about the prophecy, and I've never been able to get the Lun Khan to give me a straight answer. But for some reason, the entire thing hinges around it being pure choice. I don't know what pure choice means. But that's why the Lun Khan have got such a strict policy of paws off unless something tries to interfere. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know what it has to do with either you or I. But I know, well, I rather like a few of the Lun Khan. I'd rather not have to come to blows with them. So, non-interference it is. But like I say, I can't imagine being your caravan guard as much interference.
They obviously know you're here.
I'd be astounded if they didn't. I'm not the most inconspicuous person. They do live shorter lives than we do, but they're remarkably good at documenting everything they see. Remarkable war keepers.
And they haven't stopped you.
She very clearly is checking her pulse. No, they have not.
But they wouldn't. They wouldn't do that.
I don't know that.
I do. Because them doing that would be interference by itself.
Isn't that the delight? Where's the line? I can't see it. But I just couldn't sit in a rocking chair and wait for the news. I couldn't. I owed you at least whatever I could give you as an explanation. And I owed it to you in person. And since you were not in a position to wind up in my drawing room anytime soon, I thought I might wind up in your inn.
Who broke into our house?
I can't prove anything right now, but I'm you can see she's trying to you can see she's trying to be as polite about this as possible without inserting an awful lot of unprintable words.
Why? Why? How many other people here can speak aristocratic French?
I suspect it was an overzealous member of Cedric's cadre. I will give him the benefit of the doubt of not having ordered it directly. He knows me better than that. He and I have had our tete-a-tetes in the past. We don't like each other. We respect each other. I don't like how he does business. He doesn't like how I do business. But we also understand we are both very good at our business, and we are exactly each other's weak spots. There's very little he can do about me, and there's very little I can do about him directly. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt that he's respecting an old handshake, and that it is a matter of an overzealous sub-lieutenant or something, figuring there was a quick promotion by raiding the old lady's house. Suffice to say, it didn't go well for them.
That doesn't surprise me.
Their last attempt was unfortunately during a garden party, a reunion of old friends, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
Oh God.
Is anyone still alive?
I don't know if Meisel has the knowledge the knowledge to realize this, what the depth of the implication of that. But I think Meisel is still just like, oh no.
Let it not be said that your grandmother does not have a sense of humor.
Yep. Okay. Alexandria puts her hands on the hot chocolate, and it's the first time she's touched any of the food. And then she says, I don't know yet whether getting Chevalier back is a good idea. I want to.
You're going to see a tear trickle down her eye, down from one corner of an eye, at the exact same point. A single drop of blood trickles down on from the opposite nostril. She's going to dab at it and then wipe. I can't answer that question. I miss him.
I do too.
But and then she's going to actively have to plug her nose for a moment, and you're going to see her wince as she's desperately trying to say something, and the gaz that she is under is basically hammering on her to stop her from doing so. And she just shakes her head. My younger self was an idiot. Looked really good in tight leather armor, though. Those days are long gone. So,
a lot of people do. I don't think that's Alexandria. I think that's just me. A lot of people do. It just had to be said. You can't begrudge her that. I'd make stupid mistakes too.
Meisel kind of clears his throat. And particularly with this, it's clearly getting worse, this whatever is affecting her. Is it worse when you try to talk about it than when you just think about it?
It is literally the act of thinking about it that causes the problem. Articulation is practice. If I can get to the articulation stage, it's usually still kind of plugging at her nose slightly. It's usually because I've just decided I'm willing to bleed on the tablecloth.
Okay. And so it's stopping you from
an old friend of mine referred to it as a memory block. Are you okay, Jamie?
Yeah.
All right, sorry. I know what I mean when I'm doing this. Okay, it's, oh my god, my head is killing me. Okay. I just want to make sure
no.
you're all right, mate. Okay, cool.
I'm good.
Sorry. Go.
What? How do I put this? What? Not knowing about this non-interference choice block, pure choice, and obviously not particularly wanting to earn the ire of the Lunkong. What if we didn't need you to tell us? What if we just watched the moment?
If you can, so this becomes the awkward part. I literally can't think about it. If you got a way to get around that, that would be remarkable. I have some very talented friends who never could figure out that trick, mostly because they would wind up with migraines and head and nosebleeds too. But if you're willing to give it a go, I mean, it's just another napkin.
Do you ever dream about it?
No. I have a gap, she says.
Oh.
It's the best. It's best. No, she shakes her head. I have a chasm of 11 and a half minutes.
1.5 minutes. Tight leather armor and 11.5 minutes.
When were these 11.5 minutes?
Right around the point where I made a really dumb, really dumb deal, apparently.
I more meant time-wise.
About 50 years ago.
About
Give or take.
50.
Michelle is just off the cuffing. She
Yeah.
would be basically naming, the exact number of years to when the Anvil Heart Company went up onto the plane. Okay, I can't remember if it's 45 or 50, but it's somewhere about that.
Mm.
And I don't want to break rhythm to go dig through.
Yeah,
notes.
no.
Can you talk about the person in leather armor?
Well, you know I love talking about me. She'll laugh as a sip of raw chocolate. That's actually part of the reason I thought I'd be able to come along, because as far as I can tell, I can at least get you in the door, which is actually the most difficult part. The door is actively going to try and kill you. Okay, unbelievers and all that stuff.
And life isn't supposed to be easy, but you know what?
It would be nice if it dialed the grudge down. If it dialed the grudge down a bit. I completely agree with you, my dear.
Yeah, a little bit. How is La Chanson dealing with this situation?
I guess the best description is it's being exceedingly grumpy. It's
angry at her.
Yes. It's not. Have you ever listened to a powerful orchestral movement where the change in instruments and thus the change in range changes the emotion that goes with that sound?
Mhm.
Yes, this is the irritated 9-year-old movement.
Jeez, I mean,
it's awful lot of piccolo and snare drum and something else conveying, I don't like being thwarted.
oh, okay. So, like, it was about to get hold of the chocolate cake, and then a parent came and scooped it up.
Yes.
I see.
So
it's not angry at her, it's angry at that 11.5 minutes. Whatever that was.
Mate, Possibly, yes.
Like it's not directed at her.
But you can't tell. It's emotion.
It's just
It's not a it's emotion. It's not an address.
I see. Okay. How is Mama?
Coping. I expect she will be. Allow me to rephrase. I expect she has said unpleasant things about me and my parents sometime in the past 2 days. Particularly the marital status of my parents. But I'm in her heart. I'm sure she'll understand why I'm here.
Papa?
Your father is a darling, terribly attractive fellow, remarkably supportive of his wife, completely disapproves of me. No real change.
So, just to be clear, she's holding this bowl of hot chocolate now.
Mm-hmm.
You're not planning to kill me.
There's going to be this really odd look on her face. I can't say it crossed my mind, no. I mean, you know, if you suddenly become a raving lunatic that's hurling fireballs around, particularly at me, I might get a little defensive, but I can't imagine a circumstance where I'd kill you.
I mean, and now she's kind of just head tilting at the sky. I mean, I asked La Chanson, and you know, it had a different opinion.
Your grandmother's going to look absolutely horrified. What?
It had a different opinion. I asked.
This is going to sound incredibly odd, but could you just hold on one moment? And she begins to rummage through one of her hip packs and take out a worn, beat to hell, dog-eared, coffee-stained, rebound 7 times journal. And start flipping through it. Flip, 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 flip. Bookmark. Can't see why I would think that.
What exactly did you just flip to?
The transcription of the prophecy that the Lunkan gave me ages ago. My Lunkan is exceedingly rusty, but there's nothing in here. But there's nothing in here about the herald murdering the blood bearer, nor anything about infanticide.
Can I see that?
Passes the book over to you.
Oh wait, that's in Lunkan, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know.
Which is why she passed it over to you. Never let it be said that your grandmother doesn't have a sense of humor.
So funny.
Marcel's like, my Lunkan can be pretty good. And I can make it so yours is as well. But while you consider that, and he just sort of like what he's still like doing like essentially, actively doing something with a crepe or something, but then like with a small like hand gesture, and it'd be something that like Alexandra is familiar with, but Elena, not very obviously not familiar with Mysel doing, but he's just put a phantasmal thing around them so that from the outside
You've installed the privacy box. Yes.
Yeah, just sort of put that up. The idea of pure choice and the fact that there's a group of people who are very, very adamant about maintaining that means I don't know if this is a good idea, but I feel like it's pretty safe to help you read this, but I don't know how good or bad an idea it would be to try and let you watch that 11 minutes. But I can try if you would like.
I think don't say that too loudly, because even with whatever it is that you do to make this happen, I would still have concerns.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think I've seen parts of this. I just want to know if it's the same.
Oh.
Yes, I will remind you that the magic storytelling globe that
they don't know about that.
Yes, but I'm just
the characters. Yeah.
Yes, I'm specifically reminding Chantel that basically you were told that if you showed this to your friends, the Luncon would just have to kill them to keep things safe.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I'm like,
so...
I want to make a comparison to other things I have seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can make it so you can read it, but
you just don't have to look at it. Just don't look at it. That's all. You can.
Well, I just don't do it to myself.
Yeah, that works. I just, I don't. Like, you probably shouldn't be here, but I don't want to actively kill you,
You can read, Luke. You can read it.
All right.
Is it the same?
All right, so the piece that you have is titled The Sacred Words, and that is the moon glamour gem, right? You have to show, basically it has to be exposed to moonlight, and then it works essentially like for lack of a better way of putting it, like a holoprojector. And it is the story of the Luncon. That is what Sacred Words are. It is the abbreviated version of the oral history of the Luncon and their purpose. That's what you got from Shigelza, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not that. This is what happens when someone doesn't quite speak a language and is doing a pidgin translation of a religious text. And it is, in short, the prophecy that is referenced from Sacred Words, but it is not the text of Sacred Words. Just 1 second here. So now, again, the perspective is obviously from that of the Bloodpaw Guardians, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reminder that the Bloodpaw Guardians are functionally a religious sect within the Luncon. Up here, right? Not everybody knows that not every Luncon knows that the Bloodpaw exist.
Yes.
All right. I'm just recapping because it's been a while. So essentially what it says is that the Mountain of Fire beside the Great Lake will awake every 50 years to wait for the Herald. The arrival of the Herald sets fate in motion. It is the job of the Luncon to ensure that no unbelievers, those outside the Lunkan, interfere with the purity of the moment. Now, here's the problem. What the hell does that mean? Right? So there's a few things that are immediately kind of asterisk-y from someone as smart as Alexandre. Once the Herald had reached the one sec, I'm trying to find the proper name. Yes, there we go. Yeah, okay, I have it right. Once the Herald had spoken to the Guardian, then it would be only a matter of time before the Bloodbearer arrived. And it is the journey of the Bloodbearer which, above all, must be kept pure. That the choice, and it's for lack of a better way of putting it, it's not written in English. You know, it's like I say, it's a translation of a translation to a third language. But choice is uppercase, uppercase C. It's a proper noun. The choice of the Bloodbearer must be kept pure and true. But under no conditions were the Lunkan to otherwise interfere, and under no conditions were they ever to enter the mountain itself. Once the Bloodbearer had entered the mountain of fire, it was up to them, my apologies, it's not her, it says them, to make their way to the Guardian and awaken the makers, so that the makers could then rise from their sleep and return to the sacred work that they had taken rest from. And in so doing, would the Lunkan be lifted, rewarded for their loyalty and their devotion to the creators after such a long time.
Right.
What's Alexandre's learning and logic stats, please? Attributes?
Oh, they're not great. They're not great, actually.
No,
they're just one. Both of them are just one.
Okay.
Yeah. She works on instinct. She doesn't work on.
Yeah,
Mars.
fair enough. All right then. All good. Keep going. So that's basically, and you can see it's taken your, like, you're kind of flipping back and forth. A few of the other pages are just questions, notes, comments, references, retranslations, blah blah blah. But basically, so the piece that was bookmarked is sort of the final derivation that your grandmother was ever able to achieve.
Whisper of the Wild. It's so early. It's too early for this, but let's do it anyway. Are you the Guardian?
Yes.
Okay. Sam, does my soul? Yeah, I don't know exactly how the spell works, but when someone comes within the phantasm, my recollection is that, like, and so you can, like, change the topic of conversation to be like whatever the phantasm was talking about.
I mean, essentially, the phantasm is like, what if you able to cast it, depending on your power level, you get like a.
Oops.
It just says not visible. I don't know if you've. actually
Oh,
going
okay.
on.
I was just gonna say, so yeah, sorry for me. You just went. Okay,
They've
I thought he
disappeared.
dropped. I thought Jamie had dropped off completely, but no, yeah. Now.
Oh
he's
no,
just-
Jamie has dropped off. Yeah,
Oh
Okay.
no.
they'll be back. Oh wait,
The
they'll be back.
inconveniences. Okay.
It's magic.
Hmm.
It's magic.
Well, actually,
but
it
given
is also-
Jamie asked the question, we can go to break. And
I was just going to say that was exactly what I was going to say. It's almost 10:30 anyway. I was literally going to suggest as soon as I dropped the hammer of the hammer of an answer that was coming after this, that I would just say, so let's go to a break now. So let's just go to a break now.
let's just go to a break now. Yeah, we'll be back. We'll
All
be
right.
back. Why hands?
Have you considered that you might like a disguise that doesn't involve being wrapped up in veils?
Yes.
Will you let me do your makeup?
No.
You
Think don't be afraid.
You look like you need a ride. You look like you need a ride. I'm here to help, but I don't think that I can fit your friend there. Can you ask them if they are going to eat me?
Depends
In
on
that
your
case-
answer.
My name is Michel Vaillancourt. I'm the games master and storyteller for Unlawful Disorder. I've been asked to give a summary of events of the game, but that seems a little strange because, well, that's the job of the players. Don't ask me what the story is, I'm just the guy telling it. So, let's talk about how we got here. So, about a year ago, I saw a bunch of really talented people doing some really cool stuff, and I thought, well, that's cool, I'll have to keep them in mind. And a little while after that, I got a call from a roleplay channel asking me to set up a game. They wanted a European time zone friendly game. So I went back and I called up the cool people doing the cool stuff. So that would be Chantel and company. Cool. So, after that, we took a little bit of time, discussed a good D&D campaign, and I brought forward one of my homebrew worlds. And they looked at me and said, no.
You're sure he's not gonna eat me?
He's not gonna eat you.
Okay, I'm a friend then.
Depends
In
on
that
your
case,
answer.
It's not the name that's on the bounty, and that's all that matters to me.
Okay. Now I just have to remember to respond to it.
Well, you'll do that, won't you, Aerith? Aerith,
Are you going to eat them?
Considers it.
By the way, you have no clue what she's on about. Like, you've never seen one of these things before.
he's a vegan!
Oh, what?
Definitely don't know what that is.
I don't care what he is. He's got big teeth.
You do have big teeth. Nothing.
His grasp of the trade tongue is
Oh,
body.
do you? Oh, do you? What do you eat them?
Sort of looks back up. I will not consume that person.
Could you be a little more generic and just say you're not going to consume anyone in the city as well, just to make it easier?
That'd be great.
So reverting back to Elvish, like
Just try.
what language?
know?
I'm not gonna eat people.
I know you're not going to eat people.
Language is hard.
I know. Just say it the way I'm telling you to say it. I'm not going to eat the city.
I'm not going to eat the city.
Yes.
I'm not going to eat the city. Mental image got too funny.
Why hands?
Have you considered that you might like a disguise that doesn't involve being wrapped up in veils?
Yes.
Will you let me do your makeup?
No.
You.
Think don't be afraid.
You look like you need a ride. You look like you need a ride. I'm here to help, but I don't think that I can fit your friend there. Can you ask them if they are going to eat me?
Depends
In
on
that
your
case-
answer.
My name is Michel Vaillancourt. I'm the games master and storyteller for Unlawful Disorder. I've been asked to give a summary of events of the game, but that seems a little strange because, well, that's the job of the players. Don't ask me what the story is, I'm just the guy telling it. So, let's talk about how we got here. So, about a year ago, I saw a bunch of really talented people doing some really cool stuff, and I thought, well, that's cool, I'll have to keep them in mind. And a little while after that, I got a call from a roleplay channel asking me to set up a game. They wanted a European time zone friendly game. So I went back and I called up the cool people doing the cool stuff. So that would be Chantel and company. Cool. So, after that, we took a little bit of time, discussed a good D&D campaign, and I brought forward one of my homebrew worlds. And they looked at me and said, no.
You're sure he's not gonna eat me?
He's not gonna eat you.
Okay, I'm a friend then.
Depends
In
on
that
your
case,
answer.
It's not the name that's on the bounty, and that's all that matters to me.
Okay. Now I just have to remember to respond to it.
Well, you'll do that, won't you, Eric? Eric,
Are you going to eat them?
Bam! We have
Dang.
Jamie.
I have returned from the depths of internet disconnection.
Comedically
I
well
thought-
timed internet disconnection.
It really was.
And a favor had you for a minute then, and then it turned out she did not. It's not.
Which of course means I still don't know the answer to my question.
Oh,
So having reread, just to make sure I was doing reread the Bane, which amusing as I was saying during the break, if you only have level 1, you can only affect like a 5-foot cube, but you can only affect taste. Which I think is a fun starting point for the ability. Starts with taste and
is.
builds.
you
can be
can
a
make
remarkably-
anything taste
You
like
could be a
bacon.
remarkably good cook no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suddenly like, oh god, wait. But
I mean, you can poison people at that point. That's what that does.
yeah.
It sounds to me like you can give anybody bad taste, but
Yeah. And then at higher levels, it increases the area and then the number of the sensors. So at this point, if Meisel gets his full ability, it's like a 20-foot cube and affects everything. And so what in terms of like the privacy cube, what he would is basically big enough just to sort of cover the table, so that less chance of people kind of scrutinizing it, because they scrutinize it. It's not that getting it going is fine, but if you start scrutinizing it, you'll generally, because that's just resist rolls.
Yeah.
So if you were to like actually sit at the table, it's like that's not. He's really only doing like the edges of the cube. So if you actually you would go inside of the. I imagine it kind of looks. It probably looks really weird from the inside, I guess. Like you're sort of seeing the optical illusion from the inside as a wall.
Mentally, I think it would be like. Do you remember the bit in the last Spider-Man movie when he dives into the illusion that's being created by all the drones of this massive fire elemental thing? Well, it would be sort of that. You'd be seeing like the projected outward version, only without the little, but instead of drones, it's little sparkly bits and cones of light.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I guess that's.
Yeah, Mysore. So unless Mysore can see someone approaching from the outside, he doesn't know that they are.
I think like Mysore needs to maintain enough awareness. Like I don't think Mysore isn't necessarily affected by his own illusion. Yeah, essentially. So Mysore can keep an eye out, and it's why it's sort of like it costs he has to keep spending activating a minor action to maintain you have to sort of sustain the illusions, because he's sort of monitoring what's going on to sort of keep it adjusted enough. And you can they talk about it's like as long as it's a logical change, you can just freely manipulate. But if you start changing anything drastically, you have to recast it. So
so if you turned into a dragon in here, we got to do something about that. Notwithstanding the fact that hair wouldn't fit here, but like
I wanted to like. Yeah, it's like if I made it big enough, then Mysore could turn into. Well, I mean, at that point, Hio can't maintain the illusion, so it wouldn't matter. But like, if illusory Mysore wants to turn into a dragon, that's a recast.
That's work. Yeah.
But if you're just like having a conversation go on that it's not gonna draw attention, then that's fine. But yeah, if like Spider was coming in to walk in or what, I don't know what the.
Yeah, I've heard nothing you've said makes me think that the following would not be true, which is that the empty chair at the table pulls itself out from the table, and then Spider is sitting there
because fancy new ring,
because he was invisible as he approached the table.
Yes, love it.
And he's now within the illusion, which is perfect for the effect. And yeah, he's just got his legs crossed and he's holding his cane across his lap, and he says, "I apologize for interrupting your book club brunch, ladies."
How hang on a sec. I have to ask, how far away from Alexandria is Spider?
Just the other side of the table.
Like next to her, or like?
Were you sitting opposite your grandma or next to her?
Opposite.
Well, then, yeah, I guess I'm on your left or right, wherever Mysore isn't.
Wherever you appear, Alexandra's going to slap you like the last time, or try to slap you like the last time, because that's just.
Please attempt.
Please
bring it! I dare you.
Get my 1d4.
I have +3 guard against range or melee attacks from being invisible.
I am not expecting that this is gonna. Oh, except that that's a 19 on the d20. I do need a d4 now.
Oh.
That's 22. Does Alexandria slap you?
Well, my guard with the +3 would be 24.
Okay.
So that is a near miss.
He gets close.
Yeah, I was just gonna say to his surprise, he has to lean.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Only a miss because Spider was expecting exactly this response.
It's happened before. Don't do that.
Yeah. Speaking of which, please hold. There's another person at the table who's a little bit uppity right now.
I'm sorry if you get stabbed by my grandmother. I don't know what I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry because you really shouldn't do that. Just appear.
Yeah.
Not in this economy.
Not in this economy.
It's far too stressful.
All right.
Oh,
so the
God.
first question is, does she see him coming? I doubt it, but it's possible. Open ends are a thing.
All right. Do I need to roll my stealth on the approach now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Because essentially, if she sees you strolling up, she knows who you are.
Uh-huh.
Thus, she will not just drive an arrow, a dagger into the space that the person with the top hat is materializing in, right?
Okay. It's
She'll
just
pass you a cup of hot cocoa.
I have to roll a lot of d10s here because I have advantage 4.
Yes, absolutely. No, like I say, I suspect.
I mean, I assumed Alexandra just didn't see you because the amount of d10s. You could roll 2. Alexandra still wouldn't.
Yes. 36.
Yeah, I'm
Oof.
pretty sure she can't roll that, but we'll see. I mean,
Yeah,
dice are weird.
open-ended 20s or open-ended 20s.
Yeah, absolutely. No, she doesn't have anything special again. All of her toys are at home because most of them are built into furniture, so none of that applies. Is a 15, a 5 is a 20, and a 10, so one of the d10s explodes. And she actually rolls a 5 on that, so she actually rolled a 35. You rolled a what?
36.
36.
So you do manage to surprise Elena.
Elena Donadia. Look. Alexandra is like, I will slap you. If she takes after her grandmother, what does the grandmother do?
I was just going to say, so the next question is, I'm going to actually roll a, oh, that's a problem. Yeah, okay, so that would be a d4. So she's going to roll a d20 and a d4 to basically a logic roll. Someone is kind of like her granddaughter about some things. And that's a natural 1, and that's a natural 1. So her odds of realizing that this is not some assassin materializing beside her granddaughter is a 2. And so she's going to do the only reasonable thing, which is attempt to murder the assassin.
He was so reasonable in his appearance.
So that is
I mean,
now,
she said
murdering
don't
people
do that.
Yeah, murdering someone in somebody else's bar is suitably tacky. And one of her actual flaws, she doesn't actually like killing anybody, contrary to popular belief. So she's actually going to attempt precise attack with the eye, and she has superior bane focus on incapacitated. So
Jeez.
right.
Romero.
Punches
Why
him in
did
the
you not
nose.
teach me these ones? Why didn't you?
So yeah, and so just to make things a little more awkward, she is technically a boss, so she gets advantage 2 on that roll.
I don't know what.
So hang on a
is.
second. here.
Technically, you're gonna take that?
All right, so that is a 13 on the d20, a 7 and a 5. So I'll try and upgrade the 5. I've got 4 dice left to roll here. So that is another 5. That is a 6. That is a 2, which is not an upgrade. So we've got a 7 and a 6 on the table. One last roll to upgrade, and that is a 7. So all total, she rolls a 29, and with an absolute casualness that is probably deceptive about its violence to everyone but Spider, because he's seen this kind of shit before, she launches a hairpin in his general direction. Literally just flip. It is not lost on Spider that the last person he saw throwing a hairpin the reason the hairpin was of remark was because he'd been dipped in poison. So, yeah. What's your guard?
24.
24. 24. She exactly misses you. So you are going to appear.
I thought you got a 29.
No, it's a 13 and a 14. Oh, that's a 27. That's a 27. She rolled a 27. My apologies. Yes. So yes, you're going to get knocked in the nose, exactly in the nose with a hairpin. Which is going to
Just knock
so you
down.
immediately. Yeah, I'm just going to say it's just the incapacitate. Mechanically, it looks like she gets bonked in the nose with a hairpin, but in fact, what she's doing is using the incapacitated Bane.
Yeah.
Which
as she does so, he says, "Well, this is gonna look
So you immediately get to make a resist roll, of course.
I think I have advantage on those because of my resilience. Yes.
Yes, I believe so.
I got a 12, so I do manage to shake it
yeah,
off.
I'm just going to say, so your eyes cross, the world swims, and you think women with hairpins, and yeah, and it goes away.
Please, and
I'm so sorry, she says.
no, it's a good. That's a good reflex you got there.
So you taught me everything else. You couldn't teach me that?
You hated hairpins.
I still hate hairpins. I wouldn't hate them if I knew they could do that.
What is the value of a dramatic entrance?
A hairpin to the nose.
It occurs to me also that she did pass off a lot of the training onto Chevalier, and Chevalier doesn't have hair.
There's no reason you can't have pins, though. Could have had a wig.
Thank you, Great Mustache. I'm perpetually perplexed by that one. Thank you.
Right. Well, no, we need to leave. And I appreciate that I would, in a perfect world, wish this reunion might last forever. But Lady Donahue,
Which one?
He's looking at Grandmère and he says,
she's going to pass you a scroll case.
Given the happenings of the last 10 to 15 seconds, would you mind opening that?
She is actually going to. There's going to be this absolute peal of delighted laughter that's going to ring out across the bar, and she's going to be giggling furiously for the next 10 or 12 seconds. She opens the scroll case and passes you the rolled up piece of paper inside it.
He'll unfurl it.
It is her resume. She's applying for the position of caravan guard. She's going to smile at you and saying, can we consider the events of the past 10 to 15 seconds my job interview?
I will pass on your reference to the captain of our guard. I am sure that Alexandri's shining reference will be more than enough for the lieutenant. There's like that, like looking wide-eyed at Alexandria, like, is this happening? What's going on?
Don't piss off my grandmother. I don't know.
Good. Right. Lovely to have you on board. However, time is of the essence. Have you ever heard the phrase, this place is going to hell in a handbasket?
Like
will
more
smile at
so
you.
than it was an hour ago? Like what?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's usually a metaphor, but
Elena smiles and says, I pass out handbaskets.
Very well. I have informed all of my associates in the city to steer clear of the Temple District and perhaps make themselves scarce from the Overcity as much as possible. I think we should do the same.
Yes.
Give me 2 minutes to run upstairs, grab my 2 bags. I'm already packed.
I guess I'll go get my mother's plant and
You're bringing it with you. Actually,
where am I going to leave it?
The local pound.
I'm just going to.
Smart.
Elena is going to, over her shoulder as she strolls off, say something along the lines of, "That would be an awkward one to explain to a botanist."
as long as Granite's looking after it. All right. Meet me out front. Let's go.
So we
Probably as it's getting up, this probably is like a sort of like a moment, or I guess almost realization, and Mysel, you can sort of like, doesn't really need an answer. You can sort of cut on that. Mysel like just sort of turns to Spider. It's like, wait, how do the guards feel about dragons? And it's like one of those like, I probably should have asked this before, but oh well.
something 30-foot long fire breathing carnivore. Are your team good with this?
Didn't put it in the job description, but did mention a high danger, high reward.
The Shackleton expedition would have been so much more interesting with a dragon.
as Elena gets up, Alexandre will get up and give her a hug.
She seems absolutely relieved. There's a moment where she stiffens, almost out of reflex, and then she's going to basically hug the stuffing out of you in absolute relief.
Well, isn't this a heartwarming moment?
I have more hair.
She has more hairpins. I can feel them.
Elena said the exact same thing.
And that,
was
ladies,
really funny.
and that, ladies, and he turns to Mysel, and gentlemen, is where we take our leave.
So we will time skip ahead about 10 minutes to the mighty entourage of the latest expedition to leave the caravan gate. The gates swinging wide open. It is tradition, by the way, that when a caravan leaves by the caravan gate, that bells are rung. And so there's a bit of a fanfare that goes with the departure of a caravan heading out for exploration. Lots of people there cheering and waving you on and wishing you well, and everyone yelling out a date. It's literally their way, if you will, of influencing fate about when you will return safely. Right? So sometime about 6 weeks from now, everyone sort of picked a date. We'll see you on the 23rd or whatever kind of thing, or the next major festival, right? So the idea is if enough people want it, it'll happen that way, is sort of the culture. And so it's everyone, it's their way, the locals' way of wishing the caravan well. We'll see you in time for the next festival, right?
Yeah, so this is like maybe more than, I don't know, like, I don't think Spider's shared any of the plans for this caravan.
No.
Well, I'm just going to say the
Not
problem
even
is
one.
the problem is you can't really conceal.
I know.
Just the massive the logistics effort required to assemble the entourage that you mailed me, there's not one of them can keep their mouths shut.
Oh,
So...
absolutely. But these two have been very busy.
Yeah.
With like the end of the world and stuff.
Yes, exactly.
You know how it is.
So there's like 30 people here.
Oh, it's busy. Okay.
This is gonna be
He has an
Right.
entire spare adventuring party.
Oh, gee. Oh, good. Good to know.
Did we bring the proto bard?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, he's following along. There's 20 odd dogs buddies and yeah, like a small adventuring party who are all strangely and incoherently romantically entangled with one another.
Yeah, so there's a whole separate adventuring party who are at like the beginning, early levels, who are just like hiring themselves out as caravan guards and to start their own grand adventure. And
I was just gonna say, yeah. So I was just gonna say, so yeah. So Spider has decided to power level a bunch of romantics. So
taking a low level party and being like, "Don't worry, we got this."
They're all
just
going to
follow
die.
along, stay back from the
Very
fights, pick
sad.
up the loot, you'll be fine.
Don't, and I cannot stress this enough, die.
And yet,
And as they approach, Spider hands a scroll to the young bard,
Mm-hmm.
and just like winks at him and says, "Knock him dead." and the bard like climbs up on the top of the caravan, opens up the scroll, and it says something like, "Thank you all for your send off. Please await the return of the great Dr. Otto von Spitzenheim and company."
Doc Ock and company will be back.
weird.
All right. So suffice to say that a caravan of that size does not progress with anything approaching rapidity. It's not that it's slow, it's just that it cannot go fast. By definition, speed is always going to be the slowest part of the equation, right? Whoever the slowest member of the caravan is sets the speed of the caravan. So you will be making okay progress over roads. As soon as you have to deviate into open plains, you'll probably slow down a little bit. Now, as I commented earlier, the good thing is that sorry, I'm jumbling. Because Casual is not here to provide you life support duties, as a reminder, that is going to be something essentially that Alexandria is going to be having to run sort of in the background. I'm not going to require a roll for it.
Okay.
If a fight breaks out, I may
yeah.
decide periodically to get everyone to do I can't remember the
I think I
attribute name.
took the. If I haven't, I was thinking it. Taking the focus, the 2 boon
Yeah.
focus. So
Yes.
I've got the ability to do that.
Okay, very good.
I've definitely got the points there. I don't think I saved it the last time I was looking at it. So
Okay,
Yeah,
fair
I've had
enough.
that problem a few times.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
so
forget to save. Yeah.
Yeah, but the idea would be is that so you will it is not a secret that Cliff Spider is basically built at one of the lower points on the plains, and it's intentional that way because it's that makes it the most accessible point for people coming up, right? So as you head inland, you will be going uphill at the same time. So if things get tense and there's a lot of running to be done, there may be some dice that will need to be thrown to see how well Alexandria is keeping you all breathing, or whether or not you're going to be suffering some disadvantages on things like running for your lives.
Y'all don't put your faith in me. Don't put your lives in my hand. I'm
It
here to
was
like
too
end the
late.
world potentially. Like don't do that.
And it was too late. All right. So I'm not going to get into a huge, long travel thing, for lack of a better way of putting it. You will be able to progress at a modest speed. One of the things about how big an organization this is bluntly nothing short of a small army is going to take you on. You know, a half dozen kobolds laying in wait are going to look at this and go, no.
That was
When
entirely the intention.
you're not operating on like, was it like Skyrim or something like that, where it's like
Yeah.
if you go past like a starting area, there's still managed to be like, oh, we'll take you on. It's like, are you seriously? Me.
I, the Dragonborn, in full Daedric armor.
He's like, with my retinue of Daedricks. What? What? No.
Yeah,
these
no,
ones
there's
have
going
sense.
to be I was just going to say there's going to be an awful lot of ambushes which just don't get sprung. We'll put it that way. You know, the anime-esque moment of these, you know, dozen hardened bandits, you know, with the equivalent of a bazooka, hunker down, and the caravan is just keeping going by, and someone's got their hand over somebody else's mouth, and they're all being very, very quiet.
One of the hench people is like, that looks like a trap, and this leader is actually wise enough to go, yes, that's fine, don't worry about that. That's not for us. That's not. There'd be a point once they're out of sight of the city that Meisel's going to want to switch to here.
Okay, so there's going to be an origami moment. There's
a degree, not like just suddenly, like there's a degree of prep he'll go to beforehand.
Right. So, but the question
Like he'll mention it to the others as well.
But the question I'm going to ask to yon fearless leader is, how does he intend to explain, oh, by the way, we're being joined by a mythical fire-breathing creature, and don't panic, he won't eat you.
Don't panic. He didn't eat the city. He was there the whole time. Now.
Uh-huh.
I mean, this is why you hire a captain of the guard,
At least now
isn't
you're
it?
being fed to a dragon.
I think, yeah, Spider has a quiet word to this guy, who I imagine as being like an ex-Confederate officer who deserted to Cliff Spider, where he could sort of live under the radar or under a different name or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, he says, listen, you're all being paid extraordinarily well for this journey. And there are many dangers that the plane presents. Everyone is going to need to get okay with a lot of things very quickly.
All that your lieutenant is going to say is a raised eyebrow. Like,
yes. It's kind of hard to explain in a way that sounds even vaguely rational, but the child traveling with us, Maisel, is also a dragon.
What a fucking sentence.
I was just going to say, silver tongue not required. You can just see the mental calculus going on. Yeah, he's paying me well enough. I don't care that he's mad as a hatter.
Yeah.
I
understand.
In the background, you see Maisel with like the big. It's a dragon son's
Gorget, yeah.
Gorget, but it's like he's wearing like a sash. But he's scratching something into the dirt, doing this very weird, and like it's kind of like, because it looks like what's the it's like one of the oldest languages where it's like it's done with like a triangular stylus into clay, so it all looks like little like scratch marks in different directions. So he's doing like scratch marks into the ground, but in a certain way where he's like starts with his heel and ends with his toe, so it looks like it sort of tapers, and he's doing that in different, and he's just doing this in quite, so it's a quite odd look of this child like doing this thing.
These chicken scratches while lugging around a gorget which wouldn't fit comfortably around either of the six-legged bison's necks. Yes.
And he's just doing this quite it's not a huge, like it's not like it's long, but it's like doing it quite large, and he's clearly doing it with purpose.
How because I would imagine Elena would listen to that. Is she not?
Myself before walking out might feel Elena's like, you're gonna get a kick out of this. Walk off without like further explaining.
The only thing is, Elena will stroll past wearing Otto's livery and looking horribly out of place with her hair up in a bun and everything else, looking very, very, businesslike compared to the way you're used to seeing your grandmama. Will stroll past Alexandria and mutter something about a hairpin moment. And and then we'll grind to a halt and look over in the direction of Spider and the lieutenant, who, and like I say, the lieutenant clearly has that, he pays me well enough, I don't care that he's mad as a hatter on his face.
Yeah. Listen, I understand. That is a truly absurd sentence. Nonetheless, it is true. And I hired you specifically because I know that you'll be able to handle anything.
Well,
just I don't want to have to deal with your individually with each of your men. People,
I'll handle it, boss. Don't worry about that.
All right.
Give me before the dragon shows up. He says very casually, sort of trying to do, the theater equivalent of sotto voce, which is say they can hear him in the back row. Just before the dragon shows up, just give me a couple of minutes to chat with the lads and lasses and make sure no one gets caught untoward. Right? We'd hate for the kid to scare everybody.
Yeah, and like Spider looks over at Mysel, like writing a message for Hio, and it's like, you better get to it.
Sure thing, boss. And off he strolls.
Mysel finishes up, puts the gorget down, like, and then sort of takes a few steps back, and then kind of like, and then sort of runs back to the group and goes up to the guards, and he's just like, I assume Spider explained. I just want to also apologize for any shock, and it's fine. Just don't. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Okay. And then just like runs back.
I'm just going to say, so this kid runs up, all of the battle-hardened, trained military professionals look at the kid. You can just see collectively they're all thinking, did anyone bring the licorice? The kid bounces off and they all go back to talking, oblivious to the dragon taking shape behind them.
He does take like, he's taking time to focus, which like longer than you've seen him do before. Because he can do, usually it's just like a 6-second thing, but he's clearly concentrating on something. And then he does it. He transforms.
So, for lack of a better way of putting it, when someone's paying you as well as Dr. Otto is paying you, you shut the fuck up and humor the old guy. So the guards all assume positions around, everyone's hanging onto the strap of an animal of some kind, everyone's ready for the dragon to show. to show up. And the next thing you see is something worthy of a Lucas moment, where all you can see is a dragon and a whole bunch of animals running around in circles with a guard being dragged along behind it because they're just not stopping something the size of Alexei or Alexander. So there's about 3 minutes of a Monty Python sketch that unfolds before they all get all settled down, and then there's an awful lot of them standing looking up at this, well, thing out of mythology.
Could I roll presence and get them all to calm down? Or try?
18-year-old was like, "Oh, just calm down. It's only a dragon." I mean, he's only the third most concerning member of our trio.
No, she doesn't. Wait, what's that? That's a 12. Oh, wait, no, that's a 12.
Okay. I was just going to say, how low did you roll? Because
No.
we start getting into into exceptional failure territory at
It's
one
not that
point.
bad.
But no, that you're no.
It's not that bad. It's a 12.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a D10. So she will. That's probably why it doesn't work. Oh, calm down. It's just a dragon. Stop acting like a baby.
So, like I say,
I feel like Spider is like leaning against one of the wagons next to the squad doctor, like the medic,
Yep.
who's very clearly the lieutenant guy's boyfriend and like the voice of reason amongst all of them, and Spider just says, "I mean, I tried to warn him."
I'm just gonna say, medic shrugs and says, "They'll be fine." I mean, let's be honest. I've got the advantage of good medication.
We were all so lucky.
Oh boy, that's too real right now.
Wow, that really is a dragon. I think it'll be 2 of the reds and 1 of the pink. I'm fine now.
From the Renamala school of dealing with dragons. For Hio's part, Hio isn't ignoring it; it just doesn't notice.
Yes.
Hio sort of turns up, has sort of immediately, between the two of them, Hio is much better at being like immediately ready.
So, just as a reminder, explain because there's some folks who have not seen Heo in a long time.
That's true.
Remind everyone what Heo looks like.
So let's start with the transformation. Is it initially appears like Mysol is bending over until you sort of realize that he's actually folding into himself essentially, and as he does so, Hio essentially unfolds in the other direction. And so Hio is a large dragon, sort of purple scales, these sort of bright, orangey yellow eyes that give the appearance like it's not what they're doing, but that gives that appearance of like an inner fire. It's very sleek, I guess. Clearly powerful. Is like this sort of like this, not just the fact that it's there's a dragon, but just like this palpable sort of aura almost from this dragon of just like their presence, you just sort of feel it. They actually are already wearing a degree of essentially armor. It's kind of designed in such a way to blend, so it does not immediately sort of apparent, but has like it's clearly just like reinforced, mostly just like hardened leather and whatnot, but like on the the few softer parts of the dragon. And it does, he does sort of like tower over everyone else. Like mechanically, it's like it's like 2 size categories above everyone else, I guess. So very, very large creature, but also but actually quite small for a dragon.
Yes.
Because
everyone is thinking, my God, that's the biggest dragon I've ever seen. Missing this part where no one's seen a dragon in the better part of 1,000 years. Yes.
Yeah. I think the original description was like, at one point, mountains were his stepping stones.
Yes.
So properly ancient dragons are, lie across mountain ranges and stuff like that. Yes. But he physically he is a much younger dragon. They kind of drape
along the mountain range. Good for them.
Potentially the stories of certain mountain ranges were a dragon, was a dragon.
Yes.
But so Hio, of the two of them, Hio essentially is much better at being like immediately ready for action upon. Mysel usually takes a couple of seconds to sort of reorientate himself, where Hio kind of just is ready to go. But this time Hio sort of comes in and he's just kind of not stunned, but just seems almost lost, I guess. And sort of it takes even a few moments to notice what's written on the ground and to see this thing, and kind of does like a smile and like a sad laugh, I guess, upon seeing that. And he like picks it up, and upon picking up this thing, it's actually, you can see like various things are designed to be able to manipulated by something of the scale of a dragon, so he's actually able to put it on himself.
Right.
And kind of upon like clasping it, there's like a sort of a shudder, and sort of kind of ripples through his whole body. And he kind of sort of starts the thing where it's like, it probably feels weird to move, and he's like, oh, that's a weird experience. And then just takes off, does a kind of like some aerial maneuvers, and then kind of just lands again. He's noticeably faster, I guess, from Alexandre and Spider's perspective, in that mechanically he's now almost twice his previous speed.
Right.
And he sort of lands and just sort of, and then when lands back and kind of just like very slowly and carefully kind of just like wipes away the message that Mysel had left. And then at that point, that's probably the first time he actually sort of acknowledges that there are other people there.
Alexandre will Elena will look over towards Alexandre. I don't have a big enough hairpin.
You don't need a bigger hairpin. You just need good aim. His eyeballs
toxicology aren't... That's right. Toxicology was never your strong point.
I don't mean a dragon just to stop them looking. Run away. I don't want to kill anyone.
Wow. Elena is looking somewhere between baffled and awed.
You can fit 4 in this bad boy.
Right then, and here I thought a self-aware artifact was a pretty good deal. I'm not going to ask. It's going to kill me, but I'm just not going to ask.
If it helps, this one shouldn't be here.
I'll get you to explain that later. Meanwhile, your captain of the guard has largely reassembled the troops, managed to rearrange the caravan into something that's a little bit more caravan shaped. And there's an awful lot of looking up at the very large thing now wearing armor and well, keep in mind, its canines are the size of long swords. It's the small dragon.
My other dragon's a Porsche.
So there's a certain level of no, he won't. Shut up.
Ladies and gentlemen, and all those assembled, may I introduce the great dragon Heofrancel. I can't. Jamie has forgotten the full name, but
Heofrancel.
Heofrancel, and does a bow and a gesture.
If you're doing the full title, it'd be Heo von Rossel, last of the great dragons.
There you go. Yeah. That's what he said. That's what Spidey says.
Yeah. So there's going to be an awful lot of looking back and forth at each other. Several members of your gang are going to be peeking out from underneath things, in a very Roger Rabbit sort of way. And the guardsmen are all looking around. Are we getting? Shut up. Just there. It's on our side. We're fine. Let's go.
For now.
Shut up. So what next?
So there's more of you now?
For protection.
How? This is my grandmother.
Oh.
She will do a remarkably poised little curtsy.
Heo bows, I guess, does a sort of... It is nice to meet you.
Absolutely enchanted, she says.
Heo still is coming across as quite distracted.
Are you okay?
I'm just not used to meeting dragons, she says.
I'm glad, but I was talking to the dragon this time.
Sorry. I'll go back to Carver and guarding. She trottles off.
When we switch, we're able to share memories, but we don't necessarily easily access each other's immediately. So when we switch, we can focus on which memories will be at the forefront, and Mysel has given me a great deal to think about.
Oh. Is it a problem?
I don't know.
It
seems that we have been mistaken about the cause of our situation.
What?
But not mistaken, it seems, about me being the last. And that even this other dragon I don't think I don't think it promises some kind of reunion. I think whatever it is drastically changed from what I would recognize as a dragon. Though not maybe what others would.
Mm.
Hmm. You'd think after all this time I'd be more prepared for confirmation.
No.
Good point. I'm assuming you don't read, well, I guess now it'd be ancient dragon script.
No, I'm sorry.
No, it's not a complaint.
You can teach me ancient dragon script if you want.
Mysel's message. He said, no more hiding.
Oh. I don't think it helped. I think he's right. Okay. Does that mean we're going to see more of you and less of myself?
Not necessarily. You might, in a way, see more of both of us.
Okay.
It's good to see mountains again. And he changes back to Mysel.
Hang on. Okay, hang on. Stop. Wait, you just hang on. Now, once upon a time, Alexandria did Mysel's hair. And when Mysel changed back, Mysel was the same Mysel. Does the clothing stay on the dragon, or does Mysel just end up with?
So Mysel's got at least two outfits, and whatever he was in when he changed, he's the same outfit as when he comes back.
Right. Okay.
So whatever he was wearing is what he was still wearing when he comes back, but like physically, he sort of resets to
Right.
like the hairdo goes away.
I see. All that work.
I mean, he did warn you.
I know.
Well, folks, you've now met the last member of our intrepid band of adventurers. I hope none of you will consider it outside your pay band, given how much I have personally invested in this venture. I assure you, it only makes us all the safer. I'm sure at least one, if not two of you, have people you need to report to. Shakes his head. You have fun with that one.
There's a ripple of laughter that kind of goes through the group.
Mysel tries to has just discreetly turns his back and he's kind of just wiping his eye before turning around again.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the convoy will resume, I presume.
Hmm.
All right. So if you take a look at the map, there is a long river that runs the length of the valley. You folks are essentially heading up along that river. It is the straightest way to where you want to go. It is also, by definition, the bottom of the valley, which means it is also the place that it is easiest for you to breathe longest. Right, before magic becomes more and more the only reason that you can function normally. Yeah, hypoxia, by the way, is something you can train into. That's how people live on top of mountains. But even at that, there are still limits. So yeah, for lack of a better way of putting it, to keep things simple and comfortable for everyone, following the river is just straight up the easiest way to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So any questions about anything that's on that map before we go any further?
Only that I think there's at least some person in this entourage who knows something about the local clans and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how accurate their information is, but
right.
The only person whose border is right on the river are the Blessed Rock.
Yeah, just one sec. Grab it. Yes. So yeah, that's the Blessed Rock. Blessed Rock kin. If it's a so tribes are usually goblinoid. Clan are usually kobold, and kin are usually orc. There's a little bit of a little bit of collectivity. The only real exceptions to those rules is the Burnfire tribe. Those are obviously orcs. You've been there. The Yellow Bones and the Blue Skull, of course, are both trolls, right? But yes, the Black Thunderkin and the Blessed Rockkin are, if I recall correctly, those are both orc nations, fairly well established. And the poison ash are the nut job outcasts that no one will deal with. And yes, of course, the Bloodpar Guardians. That's that is not the proper name for the Luncon tribe that is there, but that is the notation on the map, because for you folks, that is the most relevant part of the discussion. Is that's where the Bloodpar. I don't think it's lost on anyone who can read a map that essentially is, if you're following the river valley, there's no way to go past them. If you take one branch of the river, you take the other branch of the river, you're bordering their territory, right?
I think that plays into our plans, right? We can't really avoid going through Poison Ash territory, if I recall the direction we're going.
That is correct. The most expeditious route is actually along the north branch of the river.
Yeah. And given their reputation, it would be nice to have the other local neighbors who want to guard specific members of our caravan nearby.
Yes. Makes perfect sense. So, by the end of the first day of travel, you folks will essentially, if you take a look, there's on the sort of the north bank of the river, there's the road goes down towards a small fortress and then arcs upwards towards a small settlement that's got a windmill and a little tower and some hay bales and things like that. Basically, you're essentially at the edge of Progress Confederacy territory by nightfall. And you're not staying in the town proper. You'll be a short distance away, mostly because I suspect from Spider's sensibilities, it's just going to be given the host of people who don't collectively like your group. Camping in a town and having the bad guys show up is the same thing as watching a town get burned to the ground. So yeah, I suspect the convoy would be staying a short distance from the town, where if you wanted to, trot in, buy some supplies, top off a few things, what have you, you can. But if a bomb goes off, the town doesn't go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound reasonable to you?
Agreed. Yep.
Okay. All right then.
I think somewhere at the end of the dragon incident, Spider also said that any person who thinks that they may have bitten off too much to chew can return themselves to Cliff Spider. And then there's a private moment with Helena later where he's like, no one who leaves can make it back to Cliff Spider.
Mm-hmm. She'll nod.
I don't mind which of us handles it, but I figured you'd understand.
I understand. I just don't like. She pauses. I'm a little bit old school. I don't like. I don't like shooting poor ducks in the back.
Neither do I. And look, I think the captain's probably assembled people who can handle it.
Well, if I see anyone making a run for the forest, as it were, I'll let you know.
Much appreciated.
She will sweep a curtsy and wander off. All right. And
No, I need to know, does anyone do that though? Does it?
I was just going to say, so the next morning, next morning, the evening passes quietly. And the next morning, everyone is still accounted for, is the expression we will use. You folks will resume travel.
Right. I want to invoke my observant boon perk thing. I don't know that Spider cares over much, because he is expecting there to be spies in the retinue and for them to be reporting back somehow. But he just wants to try and work out who it is based on odd behavior.
Yeah, sure.
In the evening.
Is any roll required for that, or is it just automatic?
Let me have a quick refresher of the boon. Sorry, perk, I should say. Perk, observant. Your keen senses allow you to notice details others typically miss. Once per game session, you can use this ability to notice something out of the ordinary. It doesn't say so. For example, you might spot a hidden passage, a trace of blood under the fingernails of another character. If you use this ability after failing a perception roll, the GM decides whether you notice the initial target of your roll or a different detail. But
all right, so yeah, so if you so essentially, as a general sense, I think what's probably going to be puzzling you, for lack of a better way of putting it, is you don't seem to have a spy in your midst. Like, it's perfectly reasonable from your experience that you ought to have at least, there's 30 of them. There's 30 folk here you've got on payroll. There ought to be at least 2, by your way of thinking. And there doesn't seem to be 1.
Very strange for Lord Edgewater not to have someone.
That doesn't seem very strange to Chantel, but Alexandria wouldn't think about it. The Loon Con would be keeping it. In fact, we don't need to worry about whether or not anyone leaves at all. The Loon Con won't let.
No, I don't. This is the thing. I'm not worried about people leaving. I'm just worried about.
Oh no, I meant
people-
spies. Like I don't think the Luncon, because that's interfering, isn't it?
The Loomcon pre-filtered the.
Yeah, they filtered the applications. Like you put an application into seek.com, you come out with like, okay, we're just gonna do this, and then someone shadowy turns up. No. And then and then
A couple of people never made the interview, and they were just like,
They never showed up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is a strange enough detail to notice that there just doesn't seem to be any sign of that kind of behavior. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think that makes Spider more anxious, but that's okay.
I think the only other piece I would give you is that for a lot of them, the loyalty isn't you, the loyalty is the lieutenant.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that makes
his loyalty is obviously you. Because he's, for
it's
lack of a better way,
money.
well, I was just gonna say, yeah, he's professional. Yeah, he's a professional mercenary. He's been paid. You bought his loyalty. End of story.
loyalty has a price, and you matched it. So
you know, you know. So the next morning, you folks will be continuing on. It's going to take you most of the morning and past, and before you get to even lunch, before you get to the ruined tower down by the river where the stream coming out of the Black Thunderkin's territory intersects with the main river. That is a well-known folly, which is to say, they basically, the Progress Confederacy, once upon a time, owned all the way up here, and they were politely told to remove their tower, and when they didn't, the Black Thunder removed it for them, and then the Progress Confederacy said, fine, and they built the tower, and they beat the tar out of the Black Thunder, and the Black Thunder said, fine, and they destroyed exactly half of the tower and waited for their repair crew to show up. And the Progress Confederacy has decided it's simply not worth repairing the tower.
Yeah. Seems about right, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Sam. So, yes, that is one of the follies, as it is known amongst the less flattering commentary within Cliff Spider.
Who
There are.
is that? Like when they talk about the folly, whose folly is it?
Oh, it's I don't have the name immediately handy, but it's just
Oh
there
no,
are
sorry. I
there
meant
are-
like who follied? Like who do they describe?
oh, it's the Confederacy's folly.
Interesting.
Yes, no, there's 2 or 3 of those ruins kicking around that are just the border is now here because we can't be bothered fighting about it right now.
Yeah. I just find it interesting that they allowed it to be a thing where it's like, yeah, you fucked up. You messed up.
Yeah, like I say,
Confederacy, you know?
yeah, it's I guess the best way of explaining it is that they have, because of other things that have been going on, they have a huge like they literally had just overrun one of their immediate neighbors, which actually is why they now share a border with the Black Thunder. That area to the north, to the immediate north of the river fortress, and to the immediate west of Cliff Spider was originally owned by another kin. They were, as you guys had found out earlier on, they were essentially betrayed and wiped off the map by the Confederacy.
Right.
They were offered silver and steel. They behaved predictably for orcs, which is, excuse me, we had a deal, you idiots, and went to war with the Confederacy. And the Confederacy reminded everyone how the silver and steel deal works. And that group no longer exists on a map, and the Confederacy now owns that.
Yes.
So they've got a huge, and in fact, in terms of raw square kilometers, the area they own is substantial, and there's a lot of empty space in it. And so, for now at least, it would seem that the Confederacy is content to consolidate as opposed to fighting what are functionally right now pointless expansion battles.
Right.
I don't think anybody who is a student of Confederate policy would expect that those follies to go unavenged at some point in the future. The Confederacy just doesn't work that way.
I mean, the
Confederacy's temporary.
I mean, the Confederacy is just filled with these kind of half-built towers from previous expansions. I imagine.
They and for lack of a better way of putting it, they'll leave the thing half built, and then they'll show back up with a big enough military that you don't have a choice about whether or not they rebuild it, and that's the end of the discussion. But right now, they just, at the point that they're basically in a constant state of armed conflict with the Clay Spirit and the Gifted Whisperers, they have enough problems on borders. Not even before we start discussing the fact that the delightful bunch of psychos in the Ivory Scorpions just seem to get off on burning stuff.
Ah, yeah, that would be a problem.
So the Progress Confederacy basically isn't interested in a whole other front right now, which is essentially what would getting into a perpetual brawl with the Black Thunderkin would amount to. Keeping in mind that the other two fronts are literally a 3,000-meter drop. The Confederacy has some sense of tactics. So yeah, right now it's simply not worth the expenditure that would be involved to reclaim all of the follies and put definitive ends to it. They have an awful lot of internal consolidation to do in the area they currently own. But as I say, I don't think it's lost on either Spider or Alexandria that the Confederacy does not ever allow this sort of thing to get left unaddressed eventually. That's just not how the history books
it's
are
just
written.
not going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that you've gotten away from it's not that you've gotten away with it, it's that you've gotten away with it for now.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
All right.
I think.
So yes, you folks will stop by in the shadow of the ruins of the tower. It is very, very typical. I don't want to call it a prefab, but it really does sort of have that brutalist sense of they all but showed up with tractor trailers and snapped the walls together and riveted the thing. There we go, instant tower. It's almost that kind of efficiency that they can build one of these things. It's the same design they use everywhere. They can ship an entire boat up, but they can ship an entire tower prefab up on about 4 barges. And a few good craftsmen can assemble it in a matter of a week. That's the entire point of these things. So, like I say, it's sort of this eerie, in its own odd way. For those familiar with what these things are, it's sort of this eerie ghost of a thing, about exactly what the Confederacy is, at its worst, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
At some point in time, you will notice Elena hovering. Is the most polite way of putting it. Not too far away from Alexandria. And shortly after that, your lieutenant of the guard is going to stroll up to Spider and say, might have company. A couple of the crew are pretty sure they can see something moving over that stand of trees over there. He says, there's a little thicket off in a short distance, but not. I've taken a good look at it with a spyglass, and I can't see anything. But when no one here was hired because they're bad at their jobs, so we're awful close to orc territory. It might just be looking. We're an awfully big group. I couldn't imagine that they'd be brave enough to take a run with us. But yeah.
I think like the whole time he's been giving the report, Spider's just been like staring up at the tower.
Okay, sure.
And he's clearly listening, but sort of distractedly. And without looking back at the captain, he says, do you think it has a limit?
Excuse me, sir, what?
The Confederacy and its ambition, do you think it can ever be stopped?
There's going to be this slight pause as though he's not sure that he should repeat his original report. and then just you're the fellow paying him. He's going to answer the question. My take on it, sir, with all due respect and all that other good stuff, he says with a smile. The Confederacy is sort of the worst kind of thing. They make perfect sense except for the fact that they're doing it all wrong. I think if they could, it's not that they're unsatisfied, it's that they don't know when to stop growing. I don't think that I don't think there's a big poster on a wall anywhere marked plans to take over the whole continent. But I think at the end of it, that's essentially where it'll wind up going, because it's just the Confederacy's nature to, every time we need a little bit more farmland, to go get some. Well, there's only so many places you can buy farmland these days.
Without
last I checked, it was all. At last I checked, he says with a laugh, it was all owned by the Deliverance.
It's an unsustainable state of being, the requirement for constant growth.
Yeah. I kind of look at it the same way as putting an eagle or something. You put an eaglet into a small bird cage, and eventually you'll come back one morning and find a beak sticking out one end and a wing sticking out the other, and nothing else that fits in between. You can't grow forever. You've got to stop when you're done filling the space. And well, I'm pretty sure the Progress and the Deliverance have got. Sorry, I'm pretty sure that the Deliverance and the Empire have got opinions about whether or not the space is full.
Oh, here's hoping it never comes to that again. If you do get a better look, if it's orcs, we'll need to protect our own. If you see any blue and cotton, tell the lads to just mind their own business.
The lieutenant's going to smile. If we can see them, sir, they're not gone. He walks off.
That was actually my immediate thought of like, we saw some movement. It's like, okay, so it's not the Lincoln. Good to know.
Yeah. All right.
Is this conversation like just between Spider and the
Yeah,
captain, or is it like overheard?
It's a busy convoy of 30 odd individuals stretched out over 6 or 8 caravan carts, all in a loose circular or semicircle against the riverbank configuration. It's an area about 2 sizes of a classroom. Unless you walk away from the caravan, it's really hard to get privacy.
Yeah,
but it's not like it was like specifically came like Spider was observing the thing and came and told them, like,
exactly.
the
And
three
it's
of
not
us,
like
and
it wasn't said in a none of it was in a declarative sense.
I feel like just like
if
it wasn't delivered directly to Mysel probably wouldn't have noticed, and so wouldn't have taken action on what was said.
Yeah.
So Mysel doesn't take action.
Very good. All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we're going to wrap it up for tonight. You will not be attacked while you're having your lunch. And evening will find you most of the way to the border along the river to the Blessed Rock Kin. Essentially, you're following that green band along the river edge, which is tall grass. It's basically a combination of tall grass and meadow. And when you get out of that green, it rapidly dries out and starts sloping upwards pretty quickly. All right. So yeah, but that gives you an idea of roughly the lay of the land. So you'll be most of the way, as I say, towards your next border, if you will. And then from that point on, there's a hillock you'll cross, and then you're going to be firmly traveling through somebody else's home, and that will have to be discussed, and that will be the subject of conversation for next session.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Everyone had fun, I trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. It's been a while. Wanted to make sure we're all still grooving on it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any questions about anything so far?
It feels like the wheels are turning.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right then.
Grandmama, why?
Elena looks over. Blood from both nostrils starts pouring.
Eyes start bleeding also, just everything.
Yep. There's a long list of why this could possibly go wrong, and none of us can discuss it.
Yeah. Like she looks at the volcano. Oh well.
Yep.
Oh no.
Does the anime like blasting off from the just the force of the...
Oh boy. Yeah, I guess we'll be gone then. I'll press buttons.
You press button, and we're done. Good night,
Button.
ladies and gentlemen.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.